At the beginning of Act 2, I'm very interested in John Proctor, the way he behaves again. Now, just to remind you, at the beginning of Act 2, John Proctor is at home with Elizabeth, and she asks, "Why are you late?" And he explains why he's late. She cooks him a meal of rabbit, the rabbit that wandered into the house. Now, it starts off, and he's very pleasant, and you can see that he is trying to placate her. He's trying to make her feel that he likes her, he loves her, he's anxious to please her. Now, as her questioning goes on, she's trying to find out where he's been. She asks a few questions. He starts to change his responses to her. And he starts to become quite defensive. Now, she doesn't criticise him, and she doesn't say anything that appears on the surface to cause the reaction that he comes up with. He goes to kiss her, and as he goes to kiss her, it is clear that although she allows him to kiss her, there's no feeling in it. She doesn't reciprocate. There's no warmth. And he talks about the frost around her heart, the coldness around her heart. And then he starts to get very angry. He gets angry about her accusing him, and although she's not accused him, what we see is him being very defensive. We see him trying to explain that for 7 months he's done nothing wrong, and it was 7 months ago that he was found out. It's 7 months ago that he ended his situation with Abigail, and he says for 7 months he's basically been absolutely the best husband that there could be. He's not looked at any women, he's not played around, he's not done something very bad at all. What we see here is that although John Proctor is truthful here, he feels terrible guilt. He feels appalling for what he's done to Elizabeth. But that guilt bubbles up into anger. It bubbles up into defensiveness. It bubbles up into him being very sharp and harsh with Elizabeth. And Elizabeth, everything she says is very warm in terms of, she says something like, the judge that sits in your heart is the person judging you. I'm not judging you. She's saying, this is you. You're doing this. You are judging yourself. You can't get past the crime that you committed in our marriage. You can't get past that guilt. And in a way, it appears that some of the actions that happen later, where John Proctor will not back down, is related to his guilt. He's done a bad thing in the past, and it seems like now what he wants to do is he wants to be a good man. In a way, he sacrifices himself. He throws his own life away because he will not lose his core of integrity again. That happens later on in the play, but at this point we see him very gentle and very nice. We see him start to get angry. We see him say harsh, sharp words to Elizabeth. And we also see him criticising her very sharply for not forcing Mary Warren to be a better servant, even though Elizabeth cannot make her a better servant because the important people in the town of Salem have made her feel that she's important and that she has to go and testify in court. John's anger towards her, again, it feels like this deflected anger that he feels about himself that he's putting out there on other people. He deflects his own anger and he puts it out there about Mary. He deflects his own anger at himself, he puts it out there at Elizabeth. And that is how Act 2 starts.